Welcome to Two Deep, Hokies Under the Influence, and a Sons of Saturday show. We are live here at the Maroon door after the spring game. It's a pleasure. I've got Brian, I've got Jeremy, I've got Dan the Man, all here, independent media voices at the Maroon door. It's a pleasure. Guys, we just took in the spring game. I want to get your immediate reactions in just a minute. How has your weekend been, though? How was Friday night? How was Saturday? How you doing?
Hey, PB, me and you have been hanging out a lot, so we've been having a good time together. Let's just say that much. We'll move on from there.
Dan, I know we were at PK's on Friday night. What did you think? You having a good time?
Man, the vibes are up, the temperatures are low. It's been chilly, but it's been, as always, great people, great drinks, great food, just great vibes in Blacksburg.
And Jeremy Counts, you were not drinking earlier today.
I was not.
You were saving it.
He was a respectable Jeremy.
I had to. I had my sweet baby angel to take care of, and I had to help my dear wife, Emily. And so I could not do a lot of pre-gaming. But
Halifax's
here I am
finest.
having fun with you all right now.
We are so excited
Also,
to have.
I just have to say, does independent media, can we put a label on that? Does that mean we have a show, but we don't actually have media credentials?
Yes.
Yes,
So
I believe that's what
correct.
it means.
well, it means we are
I've tried to get them. They will not
the
let me have them.
lowest of the low. But as low as it gets. That's what we are. But what we try to do every year at the spring game, we try to bring together some of the voices that maybe are not as highly represented as some of the others. And so we've got Boundary Corner, we got Tales of the Terror Dome, we got Blacksburg on the Rocks, and we've had a great weekend so far.
So far.
Some of us were in attendance for that spring game.
We
Are
did.
we calling it a spring game, Dan?
No. We're calling it a
By
inter-squad
title,
scrimmage.
By title only.
Inter-squad scrimmage. So when we're looking at offense versus defense, I like the format because we actually get to see what a full one deep, two deep looks like.
Too deep.
But we don't necessarily get to see how deep the roster is like we would in a true inter-squad scrimmage.
And that's the thing, right? Like, we saw a little bit, Dan, but I got to be honest, it was less than I imagined.
Yeah, I mean, injuries, things happen. It's not as not what it usually
All right,
is.
come right out and say it. So do you think that the reason that we didn't have full 11 on 11 is because too many injuries?
1,000%. I think Kyron's already hurt, so you don't want to risk the Pop Watson injury because he's QB2. And then there's other people banged up. There's no point in risking them in the final day of spring practice.
Say the name.
So I feel like, they played it very safe today.
They played
And
it.
also-
Okay, it don't even matter if we had our best out there. It's a spring game.
Yeah.
Like, we get excited whenever people perform, and then it's like, oh,
Right.
okay, they did great during the spring
I
game.
will say the offensive line looks like a P5 offensive line now, and that excited me.
The offensive line
big.
looks good. Nobody said the number 5 on the defense name yet. So let's throw it out there. Number 5 was not available today for the defense at cornerback.
Yeah, so we were walking into the stadium, and I overheard someone say, wait, Drones isn't playing? And that kind of sums up the Virginia Tech fan base in some ways. Like, not everyone is as tuned in as all of us are. And so when you come to the spring game and you expect to see the starting quarterback and you don't, that happened to a lot of fans today, unfortunately. Who said number 5?
I said number 5.
And who was wearing that number today?
Joshua Clark.
Yes. Well, we were hoping.
We were hoping.
Yes. On offense and defense, because Pop Watson, we were expecting to see too. And that was the other thing. Because of the Kyron Jones injury, no Pop Watson. Do you think they just said, we can't afford to get Pop injured, so we're not even going to play him today?
I think what we saw was like, we don't have Kyron, So we're not going to do a full split squad. So from there, let's get our young guys out there. Let's see what they can do. Let's see what sort of performance we can get out of Keldon Ryan. Let's see what sort of performance we can get out of AJ Brand. As a Halifax guy, you know I'm a big AJ Brand guy, so I love seeing AJ Brand get some run. But at the same time, it's like we didn't see our best two quarterbacks on the field today.
We saw the backup quarterbacks for sure. We saw Davy. We saw AJ Brand. We saw Keldon Ryan. I'm also unrelated. I'm seeing some wings here out on the table. Are they, Jeremy? Did you order?
Delicious.
No.
By the way, the wings here are incredible.
So Maroon Door.
I love Maroon Door. Their food is delicious. Their beer is delicious. You all have to check it
Jeremy
out.
ordered wings when
No.
he is supposed to be like talking on a panel.
No, Jeremy
He was
didn't
like,
order
Let
them.
me get some wings.
He
Get
didn't
the
order them.
wings. Bring the wings now.
Maroon Door gave. They
Oh,
supplied
Maroon
us
Door
these wings.
provided. Oh,
Yes.
Let's give a shout out to our gracious host. We're here at the Maroon Door. Thank you so much for hosting us. We're loving it. I'm drinking
We
an
love it.
awesome occasional regular beer. This is delicious. Cheers
Also,
to that.
Get
But
the
we
wings.
appreciate you
I'll catch
having
it with
us.
my wing.
Just some idiots talking on a microphone. But we'll get back to the quarterbacks now. The thing of it was, the defense was kind of leading the way, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Early on, I felt like the defense was. They're making the interceptions. They got that scoop and score. Was that Asen Stevens?
George Balance, baby.
Oh, it was George Balance. That's right. Number 41 picked that thing up.
41 in your program, number 1 in your hearts,
yeah,
baby.
toting that rock.
What about Dante?
Oh, Dante love it. I'm going to call it a pick. Not a fumble. That was a pick. Because the catch wasn't completed. The ball went there. He caught it, and he housed it.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about that a little bit. So, like, when we look at this defense, this is a new defense. This is a Sam Seifkes 3-safety defense, right? And I think we saw some of what we expect from this defense as far as, like, scoop and score, guys making plays on the defense and turning it into offense. I think that's what we want to expect from this defense. And what we expect from a Hokie defense in general is that it's a defense that takes opportunities that are presented to them from the offense. So I'm excited. I like what we're seeing so far. I'm interested to see what the starting 11 is going to look like.
Yeah.
But I like what I see so far.
I agree with what Brian had to say. It's tough, right? We're watching this game or whatever they want to call it out here, but they decided to go offense versus defense rather than even actually playing a real game. And
I smell hopium, and I'm a pharmacist. I smell hopium.
Jeremy, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, because it wasn't that good. Today wasn't that good. But we have other things about this program. Like today was something we wanted to watch, but we had a lot of things happen in the last couple of weeks, including the Kyron injury, including the article that came out 2 days ago that I want to talk to these guys about. But I want to get a couple of last thoughts, Dan, on today. Because we saw Davy running with the ball. We saw Keldon Ryan do a few things. When you look at the athleticism of the team out there, is there like a hopeful upside for what we could be one day?
First of all, I think it's very clear this is a dual threat quarterback school, because every quarterback out there was toting that rock today. But I think we are very athletic. I think we're very young. So, therefore, they will play with piss and vinegar. There will be some mistakes. Defense, when you have offense, defense brand new, defense is usually a little bit ahead of the offense to begin with. And I think that's what we saw today. But I do feel like you saw a very raw, like Keldon should be going to prom right now. AJ Brand should be going to prom right now. Instead, they're at spring practice at a P4 program just trying to get it done. But I do feel like there was a lot of 100 miles per hour today, which was a good sign.
A lot of young quarterbacks, like trying to make something happen. And listen, Dan summed it up well. So I want I want to talk about Maroon Door in a second. I want to talk about the wings. I want to talk about the beer. We're going to bring up another guest in a little bit. You guys saw that article that came out.
We did.
That's it. And the weirdest thing was it came from a Texas site. Not that guy only writes for Texas, but everyone, what I thought was like, why is a Texas guy writing a hit piece on us spring 2025?
It's not a hit piece.
Yeah, that's
It's
what
hit
I'm gonna
piece-
say.
it's
It's
that-
not a hit piece.
It's not a hit piece.
It's just facts?
It's very much facts.
All right. If one of you could expand on that, I'd appreciate it.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about this and talk about Virginia Tech athletics, talk about Whit Babcock from a football perspective. I think if we're looking at the last 10 years, we're in a point where Virginia Tech football has not been the emphasis of this athletic department. And I think when you look at the grand scheme of things, we're not where we want to be relative to the Big Ten, relative to the SEC. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that we were okay being just good enough.
And that's what the article had to say, is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Jeremy, you look at that statement, and we've all said that in our lives. But in terms of an athletic department that has all this potential power at its fingertips, what is that the wrong mentality?
This isn't a Whit problem. This is a Virginia Tech problem. This was a problem that was here before Whit. Like, you all forget, like, before, like, what happened in 2007 with the shootings, that was terrible. Everything was awful. We went into this weird mode where it was just like, let's kill the game day experience at Virginia Tech, because there's a big difference in the game day experience at Virginia Tech before and after 2007. They came in and they were just like, kill, stick it in. By the way, bring back stick it in. They came in, they killed that. They killed the game day. It has been apparent, and that's not just like a game day experience. It's been apparent that they've not understood the fan base for a very long time. They have to start doing that. Otherwise, we will continue to slide into obscurity. We banked on Beamer for too long, and we did not build on that. We had to build on that. Now, right now, we're reaping. We are reaping what we sowed.
Yep.
Because we coasted for too fucking long.
Fuck Hokie respect.
Fuck Hokie respect.
When I started at school, Hokie Respect was a big thing. It was a campaign to, because I think the Hokie fan base had gone a little bit too far.
That's fair.
But what you're saying now is,
That was our brand. That was our fucking brand.
to be a little
Is
fiery.
be a little bit of fire.
Yeah.
A little bit past what you would expect from a typical fan base.
So let's go back to the article, because they said we failed to capitalize on what Virginia Tech could have been. Was it Jim Weaver's fault? Was it Witt's fault?
Yes.
Is it everyone's
Both.
fault? It's everyone.
Both.
Everyone that's been
Both.
in power.
It's Beamer, it's Witt, it's Weaver.
That's not Beamer's fault. That is Weaver's fault.
It's fucking Beamer's fault too.
How?
No bullshit. So you have the fucking nuts. You have the nuts. Like, so if we're betting, we're betting people, right? So we're betting.
Dan loves this conversation.
If we're betting, we gotta bet with our whole ass nuts. And Beamer did not do that. And Weaver did not do that. And Witt played it too fucking safe when he came in.
Frank did not have control of the administration. I mean, he somewhat did, but
he could have put his nuts out there and said, "This is what we need to do."
Brian is speaking his piece, and Jeremy is doing his part to defend. However, Jeremy is never one to pull punches. So it's not as if he's defending Whip Babcock or any of the administration. We all feel this. We feel this angst of why are we not
My
better?
entire thing, I'm not going to defend anyone who messes up, especially for
The-
something I care
I
about.
think the bottom
My
line
entire
is-
thing-
I think we
My
all
entire
are
thing is-
passionate about this program,
This
and I
has
think
been
that's
happening.
different than like what some of the other people in this program have felt. Is that there's some passive people in this program, and there's the people that care about this program. Everyone at this table, for one degree or another, cares about where this program is going. So I have no doubt about that.
Do you think, all right, let me ask you guys this. That article made it sound like we didn't do a thing to expand our program for 20 years. Did we do things did we make moves? And can you give an examples?
Of course, we didn't make moves. Everyone else was making moves, and we were not expanding our athletic facility to do whatever in recruiting during that time. Of course, that fell off because it didn't matter, because in the end, all that mattered was the money that was coming in with recruiting. That's all that's ever mattered.
When you look at the program by and large, Dan, 20 years, 25 years, what moves can you look to say, we tried to level up? Can you think of any?
Well, I mean, they built the Beamer Barn.
That's a good
That's
one.
it.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's fucking it.
No, but they expanded the stadium. The stadium was expanded 2002.
I guess.
I think
That's
as
a while ago.
2002.
That's a while ago.
as a program, I feel like the fall off really started to occur
Brian
in 2011.
just lost his whole drink down his front. That's okay.
2011. And I agree with you, Dan. Whenever Danny Cole got robbed of that catch,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that was a curse.
But
upon
if you
us.
remember, even when we were running off years and years of 10 wins a season, there was still like, hey, our offensive coordinator, our offense is holding us back from reaching. We were B-level players trying to be A-level elite, and we
Okay.
could have been.
That actually brings up a good point.
All right, so
Scott
so
Montgomery-
if we're talking about A-level performance,
There is an issue when Montgomery, the offensive coordinator we just hired,
new offensive
is
coordinator.
the most qualified offensive coordinator to ever be hired at Virginia Tech.
in the history of the program.
And that is a point that should be harped on. We made changes. Sam Seifkis comes in as DC. Jared Ferguson comes in as our strength and conditioning coach. We get Matt Moore at offensive line. And as you guys said, we bring in Philip Montgomery, an offensive coordinator, which, with what he's done in terms of coaching at that level since 2011, coaching RG3, being at Tulsa as a head coach, the most experienced coordinator hire ever.
From an offensive standpoint, absolutely.
Ever.
Since Ricky Bustle. Like,
At least.
we're going back.
At fucking least.
See, that's the thing is
Do
we
you-
didn't have really an offensive plan at all back in the day. It was we had superior athletes and something's going to fall apart, and then Tyrod bombs it. That was our offense.
Or Kevin Jones is going to break a fucking tackle and house a motherfucking run.
So the coaches were deferring to offensive talent. And
Yes.
now, with what we got going on,
That was a nice way of saying it.
we are hoping that Philip Montgomery can finally bring us to a level of offense where we don't have these lulls, where we can't score for 3 quarters. Not that we saw any of it.
Well, we
today.
kind of have to because we can't recruit that now.
It's true, Jeremy. Like we are
At the skill position, it's going to running back in particular, quarterback in particular, running back and wide receiver are nebulous. We do okay on those areas. But
Can we talk a little bit about the guys we got to see today? From Aiden Green, who threw a touchdown pass.
threw a touchdown?
Aiden Green was phenomenal today.
It's crazy because we think he's going to be our top receiver. He might be our top quarterback. Am I wrong?
He might be our best offensive player. Full stop. And we'll see if Kyron comes back to the Kyron that we expect. Kyron is the guy.
Okay.
But beyond that, Aiden Green is going to have to be the dude. And I mean, maybe Keelan Brody Adams, beyond him, is like the guy that can put his nuts on the table and say, I'm that dude.
And I think we all have high hopes for Brody. But, like, when you look at that wide receiver room and the experience we're bringing back, there are concerns. And they brought a guy from Marshall in for a visit, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're
Christian
not
Fitzpatrick.
maybe done with that room, and that's because of the lack of experience, the lack of health, durability issues. And that could go for almost any position
But
on this
also,
team.
we don't have a wide receiver in our room that does what Christian Fitzpatrick does. He is tall, he is big, and he is the one that you want to lob it up in the end zone because he's catching it.
And that's who Dan is referring to, is the Marshall wide receiver who mossed our
Us.
own Mansour Delane
Yes.
last year.
Who's at LSU now? Good luck.
All right.
How do we feel about Donovan Green? Let's throw that
Gotta
out there.
shave the mustache,
I love
otherwise
the
I love
idea
him.
of bringing in Donovan Green. I love the idea.
If Donovan Green gets rid of the mustache, he's A+.
Keep the mustache. Don't listen to Dan.
Keep the mustache. Who wants a mustache ride?
Bring it. Mustache ride all day, baby.
Now, I like Donovan Green. It's the health with him. That's the biggest thing. If he stays healthy. Cam Selden, didn't he do a little something today?
Green and Green as like a law firm, like, let's sell that shit. Whatever.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Whatever the like fucking. If we're gonna sell some fucking ads for that shit, let's go ahead and get Green and Green out
Green
there.
and Green. Didn't Cam Selden catch a touchdown pass today?
Cam Selden called one. I know y'all know if y'all listen to Boundary Corner that I'm big on Cam Selden. I want to see Cam Selden out there.
Oh,
I
Cam Selden's a
love
game changer.
seeing somebody that can step into the Jalen Lane footprint of being a guy that's like a running back in a wide receiver mold.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like the Debo Samuel, give me a little bit of flexibility, and he made that play. But that was on the pass from Maiden Green, which made it all the better.
That was on a rope.
Listen, spring game, maybe not so much to offer. We learned a little bit. We laughed. We loved at that. in
We
the
were
game.
cold.
Yeah. We were cold as shit. It was cold as a witch's titty out there. I'm not going to lie.
I had to hit that mountain water, that moonshine.
Bro.
I had to hit that moonshine.
Yo, we
today.
bought a blanket in the stadium.
Yeah. Brian had to spring for the blanket. His poor
Oh,
wife who
Brian's wearing a quilt right now.
credit to the wives and girlfriends that make the trip with our sorry asses. 'Cause
That is my girl. She's right there.
That is one thing I
She's
will
sitting
say.
there.
Brian
She is
is
my
what
girl.
Brian's not wearing a blanket, he's wearing a comforter.
That is one thing I'll say for the Hokie fan base. The weather is terrible. The mood and general vibe around the program is not great right now, and we still managed to get people out.
I'm glad you
More
brought that.
than UVA.
I'm glad you brought that up.
More
because
than UVA.
the West stands had people. The East stands were empty, but that's because they literally were not allowing people there. But the West stands, I'd say, were 75% full. Like they had a nice fill on them.
65, 70.
It was less than last
Yeah.
year. No doubt. It was less.
Last year was also free, so there's
Last year was
nuance
fucking
there.
vibes.
Yeah, last year was rough. And it was free. Dan did make that comment. We are paying
It
to
was
be
also
at the spring
70
game.
degrees.
I
Shout
don't
out Jay
remember last
Tucker.
year.
Shout out Jay Tucker.
I just watched Jeremy drink like 12 fingers of Jameson last year at Tots, and he never came to the game anyway.
I did not. They rolled back in. I don't remember any of it. All I know is Chris Coleman got me into a cab and sent me home. Thanks to Tina.
We did this last year. We did this last year pregame.
Pre-game, yeah.
Tots deck. We leave for 3 hours, go to spring game, come back.
He's still
He's
there.
still here. He looks at me and says, "You're still here?" And I was like, "No,
It was
you
him and
are."
Tina. It was him and Tina.
I was
That was
facing
it.
J-Mos with Tina
Like-
the entire time.
You were
It
like,
was, it was Jeremy and Tina. And that was all that was there the whole time.
oh, Tina from Blacksburg on the X. Yeah. She's like the caretaker of everybody.
Tina, yes, Tina is my second mom. I love Tina.
We all needed a caretaker that day for sure. Dan is correct. Last year,
Ricky LeBlue, what's up, man?
yeah, we're going to get Ricky to come up
Ricky's
here.
here.
We got
Hey,
Clark in
Ricky.
the audience. Clark's actually manning the camera. He's just
Clark
making
just
sure
told
it
us
doesn't
he's coming back
fall
to Twitter.
down.
Welcome back to Twitter, Clark.
Clark, don't
We're
let
not
the
gonna,
trolls
we're not
win,
going to
Clark.
go into Clark's Twitter saga. Listen, sometimes Twitter gets the best of you, and you need to take a break. And Clark is doing that, and I respect that. All right, let's do a quick ad. You know what, guys? This reminds me. Two Deep Hokies Under the Influence is brought to you by Roback, the company that reminds you to crave activity. Use the code 2DVT to get 20% off your order. You can use an email that you already have or you don't have. Use code 2DVT to get 20% off. All right, we're done with that.
I full
Also,
on crave
Main
that
Street
activity
Pharmacy,
right now.
Main Street Pharmacy. Get your drugs at that place.
We are now Counts Family Pharmacy. I
Counts
had to change my
Family
name because they want me to
fucking
take credit for all my
Pharmacy.
stuff.
You know what? When we talk about Counts Family Pharmacy, it's the pharmacy that treats you like a name and not a number. And that's the thing you want to remember.
That is something I want to remember.
Are we plugging our sponsors? Is that what's happening?
Go for
right?
it.
Absolutely.
Am I allowed to do that here?
Dan, I encourage it.
Look, man, all I'm saying is down the street on Draper, there's a place that has big slices and even bigger fun. Massive memories. Benny's Pizza, official sponsor of Tales from the Terradome. Go get you some.
Make sure you check out Benny's among all the other places that are.
I want
The
Dan
fine
to be my
institutions of
spokesperson
Blacksburg.
for everything.
One of the last things I wanted to address with you guys as we're kind of closing out here, and we're going to bring Ricky up in a minute, but I wanted to ask.
Where did Ricky go?
I don't know. We lost him. I wanted to ask you guys about Kyron Jones, our starting quarterback. Someone that's been in the news as of late as he's got an injury. Is it a lingering injury? Is it a new injury? Is he going to be back for the season? Is he making NIL? Is he leaving? What's going on with Kyron Jones? And that's where I'm going to start.
You want me to go?
I want you to go.
You want me to go? All right,
Oh,
cool.
man.
All right. So someone that's talked to the Drones family TM. I like where Kyron Drones is because he's in a better position than he was for the entirety of the offseason. Because this is a guy that dealt with a labrum injury, a ankle injury, a injury on his other foot. So he was dealing with 2 foot injuries and a labrum injury for most of last year. So that's a problem. That's a fucking problem to me. So we were not doing a good job of managing injuries in this football program long term. So I think we're in a better position than we were last year. That's where I'm at.
You think so?
Look,
Ricky, what's up?
I don't care what Cover 3 says about Kyron Jones. I don't care what Cover 3 and Bud Elliott say about Virginia Tech. They're just a national podcast that skims the news. Kyron Jones is quarterback 1. He will be back healthy. He will be back better, and we will be better for it.
All right, so Dan, hand your mic to Ricky real quick.
Here comes Ricky. We thought
Dan-
I was pessimistic.
Dan-
Here's Ricky.
Oh, God, yeah.
Dan needs to eat a wing anyway, but you read what happened to Kyron Jones. You hear the news. You're on the Hokie Hangover podcast with our friend Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel, shout out.
Mid-Mike. Mid-major Mike.
Mid-major.
What is your reaction to that? Are you instantly like, we're completely screwed, or are you taking the other side? I just need to have a minor procedure. Like, where's your head at?
Anytime you're going to bring in a brand new offensive coordinator that's going to be running a system that's probably not all that similar to what Virginia Tech was doing originally. You would want those guys to get as many reps as possible, especially for a guy like Kyron that has not progressed the way that I think we all wanted him to, especially the way that we all thought that he would after that hot streak that he got on not too long ago.
He needs reps.
He does, and the same thing goes for Pop, right? Like all those guys need reps, and Kyron is a toolsy guy. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's got the arm strength necessary, but he doesn't seem to process the information. He doesn't seem to have the touch on his throws. He's not overly accurate. Last year, but all that, you have to get that stuff worked out on the field, right? And you can't do that when you're laid up with injuries. So I'm pretty worried about the quarterback position. They have not figured it out in a long time here in Virginia Tech. Unfortunately, the best passing offense that I've ever seen in my life was a Brad Cornelson coached offense, which is one way to look at it. So
I don't like that. I don't. That's that.
It's a shame, right? But in all seriousness, Virginia Tech really needs Kyron Drones to be healthy. They needed him out there for the entire spring. The fact that he isn't, that's pretty worrisome as far as I'm concerned. And the thing we didn't even mention, at least I'm not sure I heard you guys say it, this is essentially an entirely new cadre of wide receivers. Aside from Aiden Green, it's a bunch of guys that are in their first real situation where they're going to be in the two deep or getting significant reps. And Kyron needs time with those guys.
Ricky is not being unnecessarily negative here. Ricky is being realistic because there's two things here. So you're talking about Kyron needing reps. That's a problem because as much as I want to say 4 practices is not a big deal for Kyron, any practice extra for Kyron is good. And then when we look at the skill position players, getting more of that under Monty is a good thing.
Brian's 100% right there. Sean, good to see you. That's the biggest thing with this injury that bothers me. It's not the injury itself. It's not him maybe never being the same. It's the fact he wasn't good last year and he needs to practice. Like he needs reps, straight up. Needs reps. He needs to throw the football. And we went, it's not the same thing, but like Utah went through this with Cam Rising. Oh, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back. He never came back, and they never figured it out. So is Pop just going to be our guy next year? At the very least, we know that kid can play a little bit, which is nice. But
actually, Pete, I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite moments in Hokiedom happened just last year. I was randomly just in Manhattan, and I ran into Pat in a Hokie bar. Pat Finn in the middle of Manhattan while the UVA game was going on because I had a show to do up there for my pharmacy podcast. Ran into Pat, a ton of Hokies. That place was so fucking stoked watching Pop go off on UVA. That was one of my favorite moments as a Hokie because I was out there in fucking Manhattan. I didn't know anybody, and I just randomly went to this Hokie bar. Yeah, I mean, I thought nobody cared, and
that
then
is
they
awesome.
did care. I go to this place that it was like Manhattan Hokies, and it was arranged by a guy who lives there who went to Virginia Tech, and he would always get these Hokies together in Manhattan for the games, and lo and behold, we gathered together and we knew a bunch of stuff, we knew a bunch of people, and it was me and Pat Finn and a bunch of people just sitting there cheering on, and that gives me hope. As pessimistic as we feel, as I feel, as you all feel, and as hopeless as it seems, those moments like that keeps me fucking going.
Yeah, to see a guy like Pop, who our coaching staff clearly pushed down the depth chart because we brought in Colin Schlee, so they literally pushed him down.
Yeah.
And then he balls. Like, he literally, we beat our rival. He played well. Like, it was awesome. Not to say it's the be-all, end-all. He was skinny, whatever. But he's been putting on weight. He's got skills. Dan, you look at Pop. If we had to rely on him going forward, would you feel confident that we could get a couple wins?
We could get a couple.
But a full season, so say Kyron left, say Kyron's gone. You start the season with Pop. Does your win total change?
I think because he had a very good showing. Like, he showed promise when he got thrown into Duke. UVA, he looked great. Minnesota, not good, but we didn't have anyone. There was nobody. Like, it was not our team. So,
It wasn't a fair- yeah, it
I
wasn't
don't
fair.
know. I feel like the raw is there. I feel like the confidence is clearly there. There's talent. I think it really would just depend on how much, Montgomery can work with him throughout. Him and Brian Chris can work with him throughout the summer to get him ready for the season. But if Pop had to start, it wouldn't be the worst decision I've ever seen be made.
I don't think it changes my outlook on the year. You answer, and then I want to get Ricky's answer.
All right. So let's talk about this, like, two layers here. So my first is that, would my assessment change of the year? Yes, it would. Because I think that from an experience standpoint, Pop is not where Kyron is at this point in his career. And I think I want him to be more consistent. You're right. That's what I'm concerned about, is that when things get into those, like, those yellow areas, those orange areas, does he perform at the same level that Kyron will? I don't think he will. But at the same point, when things are going well, when things are in the area where he is comfortable, I think he can perform at the same degree that Kyron can. So that's maybe 1 or 2 games difference from a Kyron Drones starting, era from a 2025 perspective.
Well, there's also the big thing that Dwight Vick told us. I told y'all. I will take Dwight Vick's stance on
Expand on
literally
that.
everything ever.
Tell me a little bit more.
A little bit more?
You must expand on that.
Expand on that? No. Dwight came out.
Jeremy,
OCGA
hold that
game,
mic
I
right
believe
up
it
to your
was.
mouth. Bring that.
I feel like that is again. No. Dwight came out and he said, like, I believe it was post UVA game. I told you all that this was legit, talking about Pop. And he is at that level. I do feel like that. He needs the reps. He needs everything. I do not think he's at the level to go over Kyron this season, though. I agree with Dwight thinking that, like, this kid, he's going to show. I don't think he can just, like, quote, pop off. I do think his ceiling is high. But also, like, how many more years do we have to, like, get that ceiling? Like, we've got another.
At what point do we have to take a chance?
Exactly. At what point do we have to take a chance on him?
Jeremy was.
You don't have the microphone in your mouth.
Jeremy, I'm gonna strangle you. No, what I wanted to do was I wanted to get everyone's take on the Kyron thing. Jeremy was giving I love Jeremy. He does what he does.
What did I do?
It's awesome. And I was going down the line. So Ricky, on the Kyron Drones injury, what were we talking? Was that what we were talking about?
I
We're
think
talking
we were
about
trying to
Kyron
figure
Drones
out.
relative to what Pop can give us.
That's what it was. Versus Pop. If you had to go, does it change your opinion on the team if you have Pop fully healthy or Drones fully healthy?
Yes. Yeah, having drones is probably worth at least a game over Pop. I think you're going to get a game's worth of better performance out of it. With that said, I don't know that it necessarily impacts the win total because there's so many other question marks on this team that it may not really matter. But if I had the option of taking a guy that's got, a season and a half's worth almost of experience as a starting quarterback over a guy that'd be making his third start and has only played with the first team once, I'll go ahead and take the guy with the experience if he's healthy. And we have seen what Kyron can do when he's healthy. Not that we also haven't seen what Pop can do when he's healthy. We saw that against UVA. But if you had to put a gun to my head as which one I'm going to take Kyron for the short term. Now, I think the bigger question is more for the future of this position and whether or not folks really feel comfortable about the guys that are in this room for 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and whether or not they're going to have to go and get someone. I don't know what you guys thought about today, but I was not overly impressed with the three guys that made their way out there.
That's a hard question
Ricky,
because
Ricky, let me ask you this: if we're thinking about safeties, do you feel better about the safeties that we saw today versus the quarterbacks that we didn't see today?
I think I feel better about the safeties. Honestly, and
That makes me feel better.
because I don't think that's entirely off base, right? Those guys played serious snaps at the G5 level at a lot of different schools and seem to have been moderately effective.
Yeah,
And
I agree. I agree with you.
And you have enough
just letting you know.
options over there at safety where if one of those guys takes a tumble or one of them goes down, you're not really screwed because you've got some guys you can fall back on.
We got 5 guys that can play safety at a high level when we only need 3, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about that, and then we're talking about quarterback where we got 2 to 3 guys that we're going to need to rely on. We only need 1.
yeah.
3 might be stretching it, but
And listen, we brought in so many options at safety that I feel fine. They're gonna figure it out. They're gonna get DB does not worry me. We may need to get a corner. Dan and I talked about this a little bit.
I feel like over recruiting on something we shouldn't have to worry about is kind of a problem for us.
That's fair.
Because we are DBU. You're saying that's what we do.
Not necessarily DBs, but we tend to over recruit on certain things that we don't need to over.
We brought in a bunch of safeties, and we're focusing on safety.
And
do
there's
we
not a lot of
need to
injuries.
worry about this if we've got a nickel that we can rely on?
We do because we don't. We had to bring in these guys is because the DB room was a mess. They brought them in, and now that's why I feel good about DB. It's a combination. Corner, we home grew that. We had a lot of guys at corner that were good that we brought into the system. Safety was not the case.
Is questionable with Murray bringing in there.
IBM is going to be our nickel, we think. Isaiah Brown Murray, the transfer. But other than that, Cash I like. There's guys that I like. It's just we're not seeing enough of that today to figure out if we like it or not.
I think that's the problem is that we didn't see enough today from a 3 safety look.
Because we know the
because
defense is changing.
We didn't see a bunch of base 2, 4, 5, which is probably going to be our base.
But here's
set.
the thing.
The safety room
It's
is
probably
the
gonna
new
be our
wide
base
receiver
fucking
room.
set.
You weren't going to see anything today because the only thing we have on South Carolina is element of surprise.
I'm just saying, a 2,
They're
4,
worried
5
about Shane
a
Beamer
2, 4,
getting
5,
film.
A 2-4-5 is our base look. We didn't see enough 3 safety look today where I'm like, we're good.
Here's the thing about the 3 safety look, about the star, about the nickel. Nobody fucking knows how it's going to look. Are we going to run 4 down linemen, 3 down linemen?
I would be surprised.
Brian knows this better
I
than anyone.
I was
but
surprised we didn't just hand the ball off every time
that's
today.
what I'm on is that what is that star linebacker going to end up looking like? Because it could be a nickelback. It could be a stand-up defensive end. It could be an outside linebacker. It could be the star. 245. The base look is what Brian just said. He doesn't have his microphone to his mouth, so he's not coming through.
245 is what Brian Siegler of Boundary Corner Podcast is saying right now is going to be the base defense.
But that's the fun
for
part,
2025.
right? That is the fun part, is that we get to figure out how they want to run this defense. Of all the hires we made, Nerd Boy Sam Seifkis is one of my favorites. Like that is. Dan, you look at Sam Seifkis' hairline. What do you think?
I think he should probably like go to Turkey or just get rid of it. But at the same time, like if that's like if the half bald, half full hair is the secret sauce, we don't want to mess with it.
The Seifkis sauce.
Yeah.
Yes,
Chief
sir.
Seif.
Now
Hey.
found it Gucci Kroger.
I've got a great hairline and I wear a hat. So if
That's what I'm
Seifkis
saying.
does not have a great hairline,
Listen,
go ahead and put it on.
it could be worse.
Go ahead and let it rock.
It could
And you
be
know
worse.
what? If he's going 3 deep at safety
love
or
it.
4 deep at safety or 2 deep at safety, whatever it is, I'm good with it.
Hell yeah. I just got news. I got some beers coming to the desk.
It's a bad day to be a beer, baby.
Breaking news.
Excellent.
I also saw breaking news. I don't know if you guys follow Joe Rogers, but
We love Joe.
he said
Joe Rogers has we have a relationship as far as the streaming is concerned.
you're streaming with Joe.
Me and Joe are live
Is
streaming.
that biblical?
Not biblical, but it's like
Are you
elemental.
are you crossing streams?
Not
Yo.
today, but maybe later.
Never cross
You
streams.
can't cross streams.
Where do I go from here? It's so hard.
What did Joe say, first of all?
Listen,
I don't know, but
we're
I
y'all
at,
don't
fucked
eat
Pete
the
up
rest of
here.
those wings,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
take
eat
the
'em. They're
blunt on
delicious.
this one.
let me read.
I fucked Pete up here.
We are at the Maroon Door. We are having a great time. We got some beers on the way. We got wings here that are doused in some beautiful
Hot
barbecue sauce.
Hey, can I make a
Looks amazing.
suggestion?
There's a little bit of maple. There's a little bit of barbecue, and it's a lovely.
Can I make a suggestion?
Dan, go for
We
it.
have done this for 3 years now.
This is the third year of the
This
live
is,
show.
and we have done it at 3 different venues.
every
But
year.
the way we have been treated here today, we might have to make this our
we
permanent
may
venue.
have to come back.
We might have to just be Maroon Door guys.
The love here at Maroon Door has been elemental.
If you add another person, we were the Maroon Door 5.
We found love in a hopeless place. Yes, we may have found
But
love
that's
in
shit.
that hopeless place.
We got 5. My math is awful. I was a verbal guy, if you couldn't tell.
We can only say
Dan is doing math, this is dangerous.
we can only say so many things about Kyron Drones and I'm trying to host the show, but Jeremy
Eat the wing. It's delicious.
Jeremy
They have
is-
some of the best wing sauce ever.
has handed me a very wet, very saucy wing.
They're
And
very good.
I'm
They
gonna-
have great
I'm gonna-
wings here.
Zesty, just like
Dan,
Jeremy.
if I'm eating, can you handle the announcing duties?
Yeah, no, the wings here are incredible. The steak here has been incredible. The beer service has been incredible. Yeah, dude, I'm a Maroon Door believer.
I told you that was great wings.
No, Jeremy.
Remember in the
no,
group
no.
chat when Dan said, "Hey, what about Maroon Door?"
Trust
Yeah.
the man who lives here.
So I will say this: the bourbon coming through on the sauce is unlike anything else I've had in the greater Blacksburg area.
Yep.
I've never tasted a wing like this. This is some good shit. This is some real good shit.
Yeah, shout out Maroon Door. And our server, Kate Elizabeth.
Kate
In the
Elizabeth,
building.
thank you.
In the building.
She's coming with some beers right now. Yes. Can I do a sampling?
One more of the IPA.
What are the? Okay.
I'll take a Miller latte, please. Yeah.
I do one more of the IPAs. Look at Pete over here testing his beers before he dives in.
All right.
So
Pete,
this-
what you got here?
This guy is eating a wing, hiccuping like a motherfucker.
Caribbean
and
jerk.
He's had the alt beer.
All right.
The alt beer is a German beer
Tell me about
You
it.
can see that amber color.
I like that.
Deep in the glass. Let's get low. Let's get all the way in there. That shit's good as hell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is a beer that you want to have. If your wife leaves you,
Oh no.
grab
That would never happen.
shit. If your wife doesn't leave you, also grab that shit. That is a good ass beer.
What about if you don't have a wife?
Dan,
Dan, you
Should
basically
I still
have
grab it?
8 wives.
this is a beer for Dan too.
Dan has to specify baby girl 1, 3, 8.
Don't put my shit in the street.
Also, like the pairing with this like deliciously maple spiced
It's like
wing.
maple, but like
I don't
yeah.
even know what I'm
Is
told
it,
you all.
is it
It's
maple
like
spice?
maple with a
Jeremy,
kick.
Jeremy
It's
put us
maple with a
on
kick.
this shit.
Yeah, maple with a kick. And that's what it is.
I'm down. I'm down with this. Could someone cover for me?
I'll pick up here. Let's talk a little bit. All right, so Pete's Eden, he's got a wing. He's got a little bit of a malty beer to go with his wing here. Yeah, the alt beer. So it's a German beer. He's going with the wing here. All right. So let's talk about the actual defense that we saw today. Let's talk about some defense. So 3 high safety look. Let's kick it over to Ricky.
Before we do this, Brian, are you left-handed?
I am right-handed, motherfucker.
Okay. Yeah, your left hand was greasy and full of sauce like my right hand is.
That's right. That's right. You know
But
what?
now that I'm looking, your
I
right
got a
hand
little
is
sticky
also
finger,
greasy
baby.
and full of sauce.
You know what? I'm ambidextrous. Let's go. So
Also,
Ricky, let's talk about the three safety look here for the Hokies defense under Sam Seifkes. What did you see today?
I mean, honestly, I thought they were fine in the sense that, that they weren't giving up the big plays outside of the wide receiver pass, which nobody was expecting, especially for a spring game. Tech didn't really get anything open downfield at all.
No.
I don't know how much of that is a product of the safeties being on point and knowing their assignments, and how much of it is a product of the receivers and the quarterbacks not being on the same page. There was a lot of scrambling out of the pocket today. There was a lot of, I'm not taking Dan's seat. I'm not doing that.
So you're on camera.
I think I am on camera.
I'm just making sure,
no,
brother.
Well,
Ricky said,
in
"I'm
reality, I
not,
just
I'm
don't
not
wanna
taking
get
the
that close to
opportunity that
Jeremy."
presents itself."
Get over here, Ricky.
But look, you graciously sponsor the Hokie Hangover, but I don't think that's
I
part
do.
of
I love you all.
our sponsorship package.
You know what? Jeremy has graciously sponsored the not only the Hokie Hangover but also the Boundary Corner podcast.
I think
respect to this man in the middle here.
You got to understand, I love Ricky, but every time I have a conversation with Ricky, it's like the new White Lotus episode between like Sam Rockwell and Walton Goggins. I talked to him and he's just like, yeah.
Now, me and Ricky having conversations is like, tell me what you saw, and I'm gonna tell you what I saw, and then we're gonna like have a meeting of the minds and figure out where we actually are in the middle here.
Well, I mean, for me on the defensive side, I have no idea what to expect still. I'm not sure that we got a huge inclination of what things are going to look like today. And I know that there's, Seifkes has run different variations of his defense depending on where he's gone.
Yeah.
And one would assume and hope that he's going to try and tailor things to the roster that he has, right? And just given that we were talking about the safeties earlier, it's reasonable to think that maybe we're going to see a lot more of those 3 high safety looks, or that we're going to see them worked into in the box more, and maybe we are going to see them taking over that nickel role, or maybe we're going to see them play maybe even some dime packages depending on what the down and the distance is. But on the defensive side, I think there's just a ton of question marks. I like a lot of the pieces.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job of addressing some spots on the defensive side, especially up front and in the secondary. But in terms of how they're used, how things look, I really don't know what to expect. And I feel like I didn't get to see enough plays today,
True.
especially stuff downfield.
Yeah.
To get kind of
I
an
didn't
idea.
see a guy that said this guy's going to be the Buda Baker in this fucking defense.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like nobody
And-
saw that today.
Well, and I think a lot of that was a function of this passing offense being so primitive today.
Yeah,
And they were not in sync. Guys were not getting open.
They were throwing literal rocks. It was primitive.
It wasn't bad, but like at the same time, like we didn't see an assertive, I think, defense out there today, at least in the first 3 quarters.
I felt like they did a relatively good job in the run game, aside from one stretch where Braden Bennett seemed like he was really starting to break free and was able to get to the second level a few times. I felt like the offensive line kind of struggled to generate a lot of that.
Orange offensive
up
line
front.
looked pretty good today.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Well,
Orange offensive line looked pretty good.
Well, so the first thing I looked at today when they took the field was who were the starting 5 up front. That was the first thing I cared about today. And
Did you see Remack doing his thing?
say that again?
Thomas Remack.
Yeah,
Tomas.
yeah, on the right. Yeah, at right tackle. Yeah, I mean, and I think that was a question as to whether or not they were going to have him play right tackle or try and move him inside. But based on his experience, I think right tackle is a great spot.
He's
going to
be right tackle.
Yeah, and then hopefully Johnny Garrett's going to be fine on the other end. I think the interior of the line's a huge
And
question mark.
Altuner looks like center.
Yeah, which
Altuner
was
is center.
shocking. I was not expecting that. I didn't know
I expected
really
that.
who the main guy was going to be at center, but I thought Altuner would be a guard.
Can I just say, from a transfer portal perspective, it is absolutely refreshing to see Cunningham break the 2 deep and
Yes.
be a starter, because we were like,
My dick got hard. No cap.
Listen, we're trying to find offensive linemen, and we had a guy that came in last year in Montavious Cunningham. He looked good in the spring game, even last year, a year ago,
Yeah.
and then he never got to play.
He never got to really show what he could do in this offense throughout.
Was that
most
because of the
2024.
old offensive line coach? Maybe,
Yes.
but
Honestly, I'm just really happy Brian's remembered to bring the microphone to his mouth right now. We had a full conversation.
I am having
earlier.
a masturbation
recorded.
session with this fucking microphone. I hope y'all know.
Brian's all up on the mic. But here's the thing. What we want to see is offensive line improvement. I think we're going to see it. It's frustrating when you bring in those guys last year.
Listen, we could have high schooler players at skill positions, and I'd be happy if we had a really good offensive line.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the Dallas Cowboys back in the 90s were good because their offensive line was so good.
Let's
Emmitt
talk.
Smith would be mediocre
Let's fucking
without
talk.
their offensive line.
As a guy that played offensive line in college, let's fucking talk. If you don't have an offensive line, you don't have shit on offense.
Do you think the change to Matt Moore is going to be beneficial?
Matt Moore is going to be big time beneficial. And I think it's more of a scheme within the scheme of what Monty is trying to do. I think Montgomery and what that Matt Moore wants to do from an offensive line standpoint is very much kismet compared to what we saw previously. Okay. And I think that's a bigger point going forward.
So you think you see what's happened over the offseason and spring, who we brought in. What's the bigger deal in your mind? Bringing in his own guys or the new technique? Like, is he actually teaching it in a way that's going to be better for everyone going forward?
I think Matt Moore, the way he's teaching technique is more universal within an offensive standpoint compared to what we were seeing previously. Okay. And I think that's why under Monty, we're going to see this flourish a little bit more than we saw previously. Because my concern before was like, all right, well, we know what he does well, but does that really mesh with what our guy does well from an offensive
That's a good
standpoint?
way to look at it, for sure. All right, so before we kind of cut this off, because we're running up against an hour, I think it's about time we make everyone at the Maroon door relieved. that we're not here anymore. I'm not going to ask for win totals, but what I want from Ricky, what I want from Dan and Jeremy and Brian, you think about this team. You think about how much you love it, what you expect from it, all that kind of thing. Where you were at the end of the UVA game. We beat UVA. Pop leads us to victory. It's all good. To where you are today at the spring game. Ricky, do you feel better today than you did on the last day of the season about the team going forward? And be honest. We want you to be honest.
No.
That's fair.
I don't feel worse. I was very concerned about what things were going to look like after last year, given all of the players that were leaving, and the team was still mediocre last year. I thought they did a fairly good job of filling some of those gaps. I thought they did a fairly good job of trying to improve the coaching staff. I'm not as high on some of the coaching staff as some other folks, but that's fine. I think that they did a decent enough job to get them back to where they were, but I can't really see anything at the moment that leads me to believe this is an 8-win team this year.
You're not feeling any kind of like rosy vibes.
No, I'm not. I don't think this team is going to suck. I do think this team is going to be mid.
I think this team's going to suck.
They're going to have some games where they may overperform. There are going to be some games where they underperform, and they're going to end up being about the same place they've been the last 2 seasons. There's a bigger discussion that has to happen if that's the case, right? And we certainly don't have time for that today. But based on what I've seen this offseason, I think they're roughly in the same place that they were last year after the UVA game.
Very fair. All right, hand that to Dan. Dan, you look at this team, you look at where we were at the end of the year. What are you thinking about?
Well, I think there's a lot more unknowns now. Like, after we beat UVA, Chris Marvin's now gone. Tyler Bowen ducked the grind and left, went to Ohio State. Took an offensive line job when he couldn't fix his own.
It's kind of interesting how Ohio State hired an offensive line coach from Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Where we had the worst offensive line for 2 years.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
Right. And so I think, we go out and we swing for the fences. Jim Knowles, whoever else, we end up with Sam Cephas, who seems absolutely psychotic about.
Dan, hold on.
We were certainly swinging for that fence.
You think we were swinging for Jim Knowles?
Oh, 1,000%.
You think that Pride tried for Jim Knowles?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
There's no chance he was ever coming here.
I don't think he was coming here. I think he was swinging for it, though.
Really?
Whether you think he was coming here or not, he was swinging for that.
Brian thinks he was coming
The
here.
rumor is
I don't think he was coming here. I think he was swinging for that.
that they were trying to scapegoat him for the Michigan loss, and then they ended up winning a natty. So his price went up, and Penn State paid him. But here's my thing. Sam Cephas seems absolutely psychotic about beating the opposing offensive coordinator. And Montgomery, we don't know what it looks like as an offensive coordinator now. He did turn Adrian Martinez into the UFL MVP, which is nuts. But I'm hoping that he's had the success he had with previous offenses years ago. He brings here. However, there are a lot of unknowns. So any optimism I had is completely replaced with hope at this point. And hope doesn't mean, we're going to win 3 games, we're going to be bad. Hope just means I hope we're better than the 6-6 that seems to have become the norm here in Blacksburg.
Jeremy, I want to get your take.
I've never had less optimism in my fucking life.
So you're talking 2021.
Yeah.
Baylor comes calling for Fuente. He doesn't go. That was my low point. You're lower than that.
Oh, I'm way lower than that. You got to understand, like, I came here, my freshman year was 2004. I came in during fucking hot. I lived this forever. And then we go down when I guess like first year of pharmacy school in 2011. I was at that Sugar Bowl. I was also at that Sugar Bowl we lost
there.
in 2024 or no, 2004. Like I was here through like the heyday, and everything now it's like disillusionment, and that's what I fear the most. Is our fan base is a loyal fan base and we're a great fan base. But when we get to the point where I don't fucking care, that's a problem.
It's a problem. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not feeling great. And if I'm not feeling great, that means like your casual viewer who doesn't give a fuck normally, they really don't feel great. Yeah. That's a spiral. And that's got to get corrected.
I agree. So
You
now
ready?
we're
You ready?
Yeah,
You ready?
I'm ready, Brian.
All right. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about number one, what Jeremy just addressed. And I think the big thing is that you know this more than anybody, is that this fan base and where we are, we did not capitalize on the potential of where we could be. And I think that's the biggest problem and the biggest issue that everyone in this fan base has, is that we know what we could be and where we could be right now, and we're not there. And it's frustrating, and it's pissing us off. But at the same time, I still have this little bit of hope, this little bit of ray of hope that we've got these new coordinators in here, and they're going to do something a little bit different that's going to make the difference between being 6-win team and an 8 or 9 win team. And that's kind of where I'm living right now. And it's frustrating because I feel like I'm going to be disappointed. But at the same time, it's nice to have that degree of hope at this point in the season.
Brian, I couldn't say it better myself, because I'm in the same boat as you. I love this team. I know the reality of where we sit, but part of my mind never wants to accept that reality. I want to accept the reality where Sam Seifkis comes in and is super nerd boy and makes our defense good, and Philip Montgomery comes in and Kyron Jones takes to him and he's goddamn RG3 out there again. But the reality of it is, it's probably going to suck dick. It's probably not going to be good.
I'm hoping for somewhere in the middle.
I'm hoping for the high end. It could be the back end. But I will say this. I am so happy to have you guys here reviewing this stupid-ass team as much as we love and hate it all together. I'm so happy to have all of you guys here. We're at the Maroon Door.
Maroon Door, baby.
Downtown Blacksburg. They got great beer, great food. The food
The wings are underrated here.
I got
Get
the
the fucking
stickiest
rings.
wing handed to me about 20 minutes ago. It was delicious.
So good. You all got to get the wings.
We're grateful. While the Hokies might be struggling on the field. Where am I going?
Bring it home with that one. Bring it home with a nut note.
The Maroon Door is not struggling in the department of food. God, that was horrible.
Big plus. It's a Pete.
We love it here. Thank you to Ricky. Thank you to Dan, Jeremy, and Brian for being here today. That's going to do it for our live show from the Maroon Door. Clark's on the camera.
Clark is on the camera. VT,
We
baby.
appreciate it.
Southwest VA, shout
Clark
out.
coming back
That's
to
gonna do
Twitter,
it.
y'all.